the Greater Hilltop Area Commission, our full commission meeting tonight on September 6th, 2022, 6:30 p.m. here at the Columbus Metropolitan Library, the Hilltop Branch. I'm going to officially call the meeting to order. And Ms. Winning, our secretary, I asked if you could do a roll call.
Mr. Barnacle? Dates Fry?
She said she's not going to be able to make it tonight.
Bruno? Here. Mr. Dallas?
Here.
Fagan?
Here.
Kepler? Here. Kepler? Klein said she was going to be absent. Josh Maddox?
Here.
Sean Maddox?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Present.
Mr. Paxton? He's out. Mr. White, is Mr. White joining us by Zoom?
He did have to stay over at work tonight unexpectedly, so he said he was going to try to at least view in by Zoom, but Josh is saying he hasn't logged in yet. So,
Okay. And Ms. Davis? Here.
great, thank you. So there's 9 of us tonight. Okay. So Ms. Winning, our secretary, was also able to pass out the meetings from our last meeting, which wasn't held in August, but was actually in July. Has everybody had a chance to see those, review those? Any comments, additions, deletions?
Was our suggested bylaws change in the minutes? I only ask because I'm not able to connect to the internet, so I just need to be able to, someone needs to be able to read what the change is.
In those bylaws.
Do you mean, was it written out?
Yes.
No, it's not written out.
Okay, I'll see if I can.
I
connect.
might have it in the full, like in my notes. Let me look.
If not, I'll keep trying to connect. Yeah.
Yeah, so Malik says, and I can see that also, it's referenced in the minutes that there's some proposed changes to the bylaws. The specific language is not included in the minutes. So you should be able to look those up, or if I can help during.
As long as I can get internet.
Yep.
Internet access, then yes.
Great. Anything else regarding the minutes? I'd like to make a motion to approve these. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, great, thank you. Thank you for the second also, Mr. Moore. I heard that. Well, let's move on to the City of Columbus staff reports. We're going to start with the Division of Police. I just got an email from Sergeant Brophy that he's not going to be able to make it. I don't think he'd mind. He said he had a bicycle accident, broke a rib, and so isn't able to come tonight. Just got that email. So sorry to put your business out there, but I just feel bad, So send him a card, send him an email. Get well soon. He was real excited to come. So just literally got that email just a few minutes ago. And again, I don't think he would mind at all. We can look to collect his email. Just if anybody has any questions or anything you'd like to talk with him about or put on his agenda between now and our next meeting, I'm sure he wouldn't mind if we emailed that. So I'll look and get that email. We'll get it up on the screen, write it up on the whiteboard, whatever I can do here. So during other reports. So I did pass out a copy of the agenda in paper form. If you are viewing in on Facebook or YouTube, we are streaming live right now, and those meetings are also recorded if you want to go back and look at anything that was presented this evening. But if you want to get a copy of the agenda, that is our website, cbusareacommissions.org. And if you stop right there, you'll be able to see all the different area commissions, all 21 of them. You can get on the links to all of them, but ours is that /greater-hilltop. So you can get a copy of the agenda if you're viewing in now, or if you're on your phone or electronic device, you can log in to see that agenda also. So next, City of Columbus staff report is, I didn't see, is Zach Wynn. Zach Wynn here is from our city attorney's office. Zach Wynn, our zone attorney, is here. So Zach, do you have any information to share with us this evening? We have a microphone.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Anywhere you'd like to.
I come grab it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look towards the alley, you can see it.
Where? Okay.
The alley.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Hey, everybody, Zach Gwynn, Columbus City Attorney's Office, here on the west side. So a few updates. Earlier this month, last month, we filed on Spotlight Lounge. It's over at 1822 West Mound Street. Had a lot of firearm offenses, most of those occurring between the 1 and 5 a.m. range. So filed a case that would normally be a nuisance abatement to close down business, but had an opportunity to discuss the issues with the owner and their attorney. And so we reached kind of a preliminary agreement regarding reduced hours, bringing in licensed security, compliance with other liquor laws, just to make sure that things kind of tightened up, got a little safer for the neighborhood, but also allowed them to continue operating. So they're kind of on a probation, we'd call it, just kind of monitoring their activity in the community. Beyond that, we had our Hilltop Mosey. Thank you to Jeff Phillips and the rest of the Highland West Civic Association for welcoming us to the neighborhood. Columbus Police, Refuse, Code Enforcement, Keep Columbus Beautiful. A few different groups from the city walked around with neighbors, talked to local business owners just to get a feel for what the needs were in the community and what things we needed to be talking about. So appreciate everybody for coming out to that. Beyond that, what some of you might have seen in the news, we did file a nuisance case against South Park Apartments. For those of you that aren't familiar, it's about 360 residential units, kind of one of the last project-based Section 8 housing locations left in the city that is entirely based on one multi-site location. The idea being, we've been talking with them for a little over a year about the living conditions folks were in, issues with rodent and roach infestations, damaged appliances, just everything you can name. And at a certain point, we said, we've talked for quite some time and we weren't seeing enough movement. So I have a status conference for that case coming up at the end of October. Hopefully we see some movement in terms of improving conditions, both living and safety for residents. Beyond that, we have our softball game coming up, Franklinton versus Hilltop on Saturday. I'll leave most of that for Commissioner Brudnow. But look forward to seeing everyone there at 10. I just looked at the forecast and it's looking like it will be dry for now. So fingers crossed. Any questions or anything?
I have one. The liquor license for, I think it was Sunoco that we were pushing back on, and all of a sudden I heard they got it. Did they get a liquor license back?
Which
I
Sunoco?
thought it was the Sunoco down here that we were pushing on.
On Sullivan?
On Broad.
On Broad. I will text Sarah Pomeroy, handles all of the liquor objections for our section. I'm not sure if I sent anything to Commissioner Wenning recently, but I will, I'll shoot her a text and get you something before the end of the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Zach, I want to make sure I'm gonna try to be real purposeful to see anybody that's viewing online at Facebook or YouTube right now. If you had any questions specifically to anything that Mr. Gwen just presented about, we're gonna try to just field those questions when we can.
We would like to know how to get a hold of you.
Sure. Email is going to be the best way. It's going to be Z as in Zach, S as in Sam, and then Gwyn, GWIN at columbus.gov. And then my office phone is going to be 614-645-8928. ZS Gwyn at columbus.gov. Yes. Yes.
Would ask what the objection was to the liquor license on curiosity.
I thought it was one of excessive crime, the location. Now, maybe I'm thinking of the drive-through a couple blocks down.
Possibly. So every year, liquor permits are renewed, and then our office will sometimes put in an objection to the renewal of the liquor permit. It goes before city council. We put on evidence about why it shouldn't be renewed. And frequently there are discussions with ownership about changes in operations that might improve safety.
So I think possibly what you're referring to is something that we talked about kind of not during a meeting, but so there were some objections to various liquor permits that I think the city was maintaining, but then withdrew them. And I don't think we really get any notice of that when the city changes their mind, but you know, it was in the city council minutes for their meeting on the agenda. So can you, or do you know like how those objections, how the decision is made to withdraw the objections or how that's decided?
So I wouldn't say there's a hard and fast rule. Typically what'll happen is this will get the attention of the owner, obviously, and City Attorney Pomeroy will then have a discussion with ownership about whether or not they can reach an agreement on modifications. But if the city attorney's office doesn't feel that there is any chance to redeem the property, they'll move forward with a full objection. I can't say there's kind of a specific point, but what we will typically look at is calls for service ratio. And after it gets to a certain point in terms of number of calls for that location, crimes of violence, overdoses, things like that, that's how it kind of comes up on the objection list. We did have recently, we did inspections on markets. So we did the Mobile on West Broad, the Sunoco in Franklinton, I think SNN or NNS Market, and then another one I can't recall on West Broad Street. Only a few had significant violations, mostly with food storage temperatures, things like that, and then paraphernalia, drug paraphernalia.
I think it's a mobile one.
But we were at the Mobile on Broad and they were issued citations when we were there.
You were contesting their license and then let them have it. Is that one of them?
I'm not sure if that was one of them or not. I have to look at the city council agenda, but there were 3 or 4 that I think we had supported an objection before and that they were withdrawn. So we were just curious.
Yeah, so Marathon was this right here in the corner, the UDF. It was the Sunoco and was the place that wanted to have the drive-through window on West Broad as well.
Safeway.
Safeway.
Let me get an update on a few of those from Sarah. Hopefully I can get those before the end of the meeting for everybody.
I'll work to put those addresses up on the screen at some point if you are to provide an update so we can have access.
All know specifically the establishments we're talking about. Okay.
We do not have township jurisdiction. That'd be Franklin County Prosecutor's Office.
I think a question came in about, does Zach and his office have jurisdiction over Franklin Township? And the answer would be no.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
There was one about Lenny's Chicken, but I don't think you have jurisdiction over Lenny's Chicken.
I wish, I don't know.
I'd just like to know when that's gonna.
It hasn't opened up.
Oh, so, curious.
Yeah.
For those that can't hear, maybe online, it was a question about Lenny's Chicken and on Broad, and when is that going to open? We're all excited. So nobody knows the answer to that here at the meeting tonight. So, okay, great. So we're going to move on to the next City of Columbus staff report. City Council Division of Community Engagement. We have Avery Townsend here tonight. I know she has a number of items she'd like to update us on. Two updates.
Is over here. I missed the intro.
I think this is a wonderful spot for you to be able to do your.
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, everyone. I like the new microphone. The clip-on, I had a problem with, apparently. I had difficulty with. So there are 2 programs I wanted to talk about tonight that City Council has put forth. So a couple months ago, you might have seen in the highlights that we put money aside for neighborhood beautification grants. So it's going to be a grant program through the Neighborhood Design Center. And it's up to $10,000 per award for a pocket park or a mural, just these kind of under $10,000 beautification projects in your neighborhood. So area commissions themselves cannot apply because you don't have a fiscal agent. However, we are highly encouraging if there are if there is a nonprofit that you guys are in contact with, that you have a good relationship with, to submit an application. The way the application was described to me in terms of your design idea, it can be like back of napkin sort of idea, because the NDC will help you, bring that idea to fruition. So if there are any ideas, they're going to be launching, doing kind of like a bigger announcement, I know, in the next 2 or 3 weeks at Third Way Cafe. But we just, ran into some issues with the not having the fiscal agent. So if there are any ideas that you have for a little area in your neighborhood that would benefit from a pocket park, and if you're curious about what a pocket park is, it is a small park. That's self-explanatory. However, if you Google Pocket Park Neighborhood Design Center, they have their examples on the website. So they're up, like I said, it's up to $10,000 per award. And then the NDC would be installing those in spring 2023. So does anyone have any questions for me on that? Yeah, go for it.
We have a pocket park on Broad and Whitethorn.
Yes.
And I think it's a little unknown as to who the owner is. And
Friends of the Hilltop.
is it Friends of the Hilltop?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Layla.
I reached out to Melissa about it a couple months ago because it was so grown.
Yeah,
There was a whole track down process, but
and they now mow it, but I don't know.
someone's
mowing
mowing it. Yes,
I
but
would
it's,
love
it
to
it was owned and created by Friends of the Hilltop.
Got
I
it.
think they may have created it through this grant. if I remember correctly.
Great. This specific one, but maybe it was Neighborhood Design Center. Yeah, I know we've worked with them in the past, so I do know that priority will be given to priority neighborhoods. So if you have any ideas, feel free. This is through Councilmember Lourdes Barroso de Padilla's office. So if you have any ideas or questions about that, I'll be sending out more information, such as when the application will open, when it will close. I don't have any of that information yet. I know it will be in a few weeks. You can ask me and we can kind of, talk about what that, what that application process will look like. I'm using my phone and my notebook, so give me 1 second. And secondly, I wanted to talk about a city council project that we're still kind of putting the finishing touches on. So I really would like to get kind of like your thoughts and feedback, which is we're going to be doing a training series for area commissioners over the next 3 months. So October, November, and December, 3 consecutive months. They are, not required at all. They're optional. They're not through the Department of Neighborhoods or BZS like your required trainings. So they'll be through the YWCA on Racial Equity 101, the Kerwin Institute on Race and Ethnicity from Ohio State on zoning and housing, and then on from United Way on population growth and changes in the 2020 census data through United Way. So they're going to be training opportunities, like I said, optional on top of all, of your area commissioner trainings. They'll be on Saturdays. Then following the completion of each training, you will be able to potentially receive a Visa gift card to help you cover the costs of your trainings. We know this is kind of on top of everything else that you do as volunteers. However, we wanted to be able to remove the barriers because we hear from area commissioners all the time that transportation might be a problem. These will be in person. You might have to take a shift off of work or get childcare, and we didn't want to do equitability trainings and not have equitable access to these trainings. So if there are any thoughts, if you have any feedback on, I'll be sending out the information going forward. There will also be a piece to this in helping kind of get the word out about area commissioners and like how to find the website and things like that. I'm not exactly sure what that will look like at this point, but we wanted to provide these trainings because we think that they're really excellent. I've actually gone through, I was looking at them, I was like, hey, I've actually done all of these at some point or another. They're really excellent. And I think especially the one from United Way on population growth and kind of the changes in Columbus population, it's fascinating. Because I know some commissioners are new to Columbus, some are old to Columbus, and I think we could all use a little bit more training on things like that. So, yeah.
The old piece.
What was that?
You guys old people.
Old to Columbus. That could mean anything, right? Anyone have questions? Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Yeah, are there any questions for Avery?
Will those trainings be open to not currently sitting commissioners, but like commissioners elect? That is a great question.
That's a good question.
Because I know with the citywide pilot, a lot of them are taking their seats in January. I will ask. I believe so. I don't think that should be a
I
problem.
know that was one of the pieces of getting elections earlier
Yeah.
in the year so that they could sit those. small.
Yeah.
So I just wanted-
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like I said, so I know that was the case for the Department of Neighborhoods trainings, making sure that they had access to the zoning trainings. Like I said, this is like an extra, these are extra trainings that you can choose to or to not participate in, that we sponsored, that, we funded through our partners. So I will ask. I think that's a great question. I do believe so. But that's good feedback. So we're still kind of putting the finishing touches on this one.
Is there still a thought that they would like you to participate in all of those trainings if you do, like if you sign up for the first, they'd like you to sign up for the second, sign up for the third, do a
Yeah.
series, right?
Good, good question. So it's that if you go to the first one, you can go to the second one. If you have to go to the first, how do I say this? If you want to go to the second one, you have to have gone to the first. If you want to go to the third, you have to have gone to the first two. So if you only go to the first two, that's fine, but you can't come to the third one without going to the first two. That's also another reason why they're stretched out over the months, because we didn't want to be too. That was the original, I told them. I think it's 3 weeks in a row, but 3 months, so.
3
that
months,
was
okay.
Much easier, yeah.
And we're just going to take just a moment to see if there's any questions that might have come in from anybody viewing in this evening.
Not for Avery. But somebody did respond. Representative from the Hilltop Rise spoke with Lenny's. They're waiting on final permits from the city. Teriyaki Shop had delays in their flooring. They had hoped to open both at the same time, but my guess is once they get their final occupancy permit, they will open Lenny's.
Great.
Continuation, but otherwise.
Thank you.
So this isn't a question, but as much as next Wednesday, is this, maybe Rebecca might be talking about, okay, I'll let you do that. So next up, let's see, from the City of Columbus Department of Neighborhoods, we have Rebecca Deeds here tonight. Melissa Green was our program manager here for the West Side, and she's no longer in that position. So they're actively recruiting for her replacement. And so Rebecca has just graciously come to present tonight information for us. So I'll let you have the mic.
Thanks so much. So I'm actually your substitute. So think of me as perhaps not even capable of rolling in the television to watch videos all day. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. Rebecca Deeds. I serve the Far West Side Area Commission along with West Scioto, downtown and Northwest Columbus typically. Dave Huey, who many of you know, will be serving in Melissa's stead until her replacement is hired. But this evening, David is on vacation, so you have me. So I believe, Dan, you were referring to trainings that are coming up. So the next 2 trainings, the first one is actually this Saturday. It's at 10 a.m. It's about improving engagement and communication by valuing differences. The invitation for that has gone out. Should you wish me to resend that, just let me know. I'm happy to share my information. Going forward, most questions that might arise would go through Dave Huey, but I because this is time sensitive, if you'd like registration information on this, please do let me know before you leave tonight. That training is Saturday morning from 10 to 11:30 a.m. And then more importantly, the next new commissioner training or refresher, should you choose to attend, is Wednesday, September 14th from 6 to 8:30. So this is the training where it's every city department, it's the city attorney's office talking about their relationship to area commissions, it's building and zoning, it's public health, it's every city department and the ways in which they interact with the community and with area commissions in particular. If any of you are new commissioners and have not attended this training, I highly recommend it. It's a great refresher. Otherwise, but certainly if there are any new commissioners, I encourage you to attend. I don't have a lot of other details, but a resource came across my email today about a Franklin County community outreach event that's going to be taking place up at Morse Road up by the Board of Elections. and I'm gonna leave this by the door, so if anyone wants to take a screenshot of this on your way out. It looks like a lot of resources. It's an access to justice and improving public safety event. There's gun safety information, drug court and diversion programs, naloxone training, ask a judge, family services, voter services. So basically, many services available, along with a free food box giveaway and free parking. So I did want to share this with you. I'll leave this by the door if you'd like to take a picture of it. Are there any questions that I can answer for anyone?
September the 14th, I'm guessing it's virtual, not in person at all?
That is correct. These are all virtual. That one, I'm quite sure will be WebEx, whereas the one this Saturday, it's sort of, the city tends to use WebEx for our meetings, whereas a lot of other providers tend to choose Zoom. So, but they will both be virtual events, certainly. So please shoot me an email if you need my contact information, and if you need registration information. Also, I'm happy to share David's information should you have any questions specific to the neighborhood.
What is the time on the 14th?
Yes, it's 6 to 8:30 p.m.
I signed up this morning
Mhm.
and the confirmation says 10 a.m.
Ah, well, that's
That's
not great. Okay, so that's what it showed for the 14th.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
I double checked because I was confused. So, yes.
I will let
Just a
David
heads
know that right away. Thanks for letting me know. Any other questions? Yep. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Of course.
Next, I think, Nick, were you back? There you are. Oh my gosh. This guy, I think, just got off a plane or something, you know? People are so committed to the work they do. This is Nicholas Plow. He's here to talk about the Envision Hilltop Plan.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening, everyone. I'll be real quick. So Vision Hilltop Advisory Committee is continuing to meet. Subcommittees are continuing to meet as well. All three subcommittees met last month. If anyone wants to get connected with any of that work, please just reach out to myself, and I'll get you connected with those folks. Kevin Orr, who's here, is the chair of the People Subcommittee. Ashley Montana is chair of the Home Subcommittee, and then Danny Peterson. It's been a long couple days. Danny Peterson is the chair of the Place Subcommittee. So I think most of you are familiar with those folks, so you're welcome to reach out to them directly as well. And then if you ever have any interest in engaging with the plan or ever want to just chat, please reach out to me and we can always talk. Our next subcommittee meeting that I am aware of is the Home Subcommittee, which will be Friday, September 23rd from 11 to 12. And the next full advisory committee meeting will be Tuesday on September 27th, and that's going to be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. So kind of in an effort to provide some more flexibility for folks, particularly that are doing work in the Hilltop, but may not have that overlap with their job and the ability to kind of attend, a 10 to 11 or a 10 to 12 on a Friday, trying to provide that flexibility. So that was the feedback that I received was, a weeknight would be great. I got varying times from like 6:30 and I'd rather do 5:30. So I compromised that at 6:30, we're going to end at 8 because I don't think anybody wants to meet past 8:30. No offense to the area commission, who I know ends at 8:30. So if we go long, people can hang out, but I think we can get everything done in an hour and a half. So for everyone's awareness, I think the focus of this next advisory committee meeting is going to be around funding. So we're going to have someone from the Columbus Foundation come and talk about all the various funding opportunities that are out there through their foundation. I'll share more information about the neighborhood beautification program that Avery shared. There's, I think, another like empowerment grant program that's also out there that is available, very similar, I think, to the beautification program as well. So just getting folks information on that, letting them know the avenues they can work through to kind of get those applications complete, what the ins and outs are, and then reminding folks that they have resources with the city to help support that as well. So happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Nick, I really appreciate the work you've done to continue to try to make those evening and weekend kind of committee work happen. I also asked Nick if he would be willing to do kind of a larger presentation at the next full commission meeting, kind of give us an update. If it's not October, I know we kind of sprang that on you and you were very gracious and said you could do that in October, November, but just sometime here in the next couple of months. I'd like to put that on the agenda just to kind of do kind of a progress update about where everybody's at. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Great.
Yeah, I may or may not be here in October, but I will definitely be here in November, so we'll do it in November at the latest. And one thing we are working on too as well is just kind of getting some sort of visualization for like reports that folks can kind of follow along with the progress of the plan, engage with it a little bit easier than the like 200-page living document that exists currently. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nick. Josh, did you see any questions at all for Nick? No? Okay. Thank you. So let's move on to what I call reports of officers. So I, as the chair, I don't have much to report. We didn't meet last month. I was given the opportunity to speak briefly at the Rise Up Columbus event that was held at Hans Park on August 18th. So that was a really great start to an event. There was just so many booths set up and it rained pretty hard there for a moment. So it kind of, it was scared people away, but got an opportunity to just talk about what the area commission is, what they are, crossing over 900 neighborhoods across the city. There's 21 area commissions. Just was able to speak a little bit about that and see if there would be people that would be willing to put their names in for the open seats that we had available. So got the chance to do that. And then also got to talk with the New American Leadership Academy on August 24th. I represented the Greater Hilltop. There were 3 other area commissions that were represented there by others. And we followed the City of Columbus Police Department that did a presentation on community policing. Assistant Chief was there, and there was just a really good dialogue that happened. And then we talked about kind of what it is the area commissions do, what are kind of some pressing issues, some successes that are happening in neighborhoods across Columbus. So it was a good opportunity to meet some folks that are really hoping to do more in the areas of Columbus that they live in. So those are really the updates that I have since we last met. James isn't here as our vice chair. Treasurer, do you have a report?
Nothing to report. Waiting on our deposit for the month.
We are still waiting on program funds for this year. There was a slide I put next, I think, if it matters. We have a balance in our checking account right now. We're required to keep a minimum balance of $300, right? And so that's still there. I just have the mic. Is it okay if I just keep talking? And so we're waiting on program funds for this year. We just haven't received them yet. Any questions about that?
Do you know if the MOA was completed?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Yeah. It's kind of a historical issue about our EIN number, and it just needed to be corrected. And so it's waiting for the systems to catch up. So we'll get there someday. Yeah. And then our secretary, Rachel Winning, do you have anything?
I have 2 brief announcements. The first is very happy. The first is to wish congratulations to Ms. Brugno, who is married since our last meeting. So congratulations to you and Eli. The second is sad, unfortunately. I know a lot of people are aware that there was a police shooting on Sullivan Avenue. It happened on August 30th, and there was a young man who was killed named Donovan Lewis. So I wanted to send condolences to his family. There have been quite a few protests so far and ongoing support of the family. I think his funeral is happening this weekend. So I just wanted to send condolences to his family in the wake of that tragedy. So.
What do you keep in mind in that year?
Oh, I was just gonna go up next to her, but that works too.
Yeah, they should both work. So, thank you. Any questions for Rachel? Thank you for your report. So we're gonna move on to our committee reports, right? So a couple of slides, our zoning committee, we're gonna start with. Patrick and Rachel are co-chairs.
First thing, I go over new applications that we are gonna have. So there are no applications for tonight. You're welcome. The first one that is going to be heard is BZA 22-091 2357 Sullivan Avenue. That is a drive-through application. And I believe it currently already has one, but they're trying to get a variance for it. The second one is 2725 West Broad Street. That's GC 22-025, the GC for Graphics Commission. So they're that's a Sunoco on West Broad that we were talking about earlier. They put up the illuminated sign without having a permit to do so, and they also put it in an illegal spot. So they're trying to get a variance. They're actually planning on moving it, but they can't even have an illuminated sign. They're keeping it out while they're still under review. And then the final one that we're going to be hearing is the Eureka Avenue that's been ongoing for a while now. The only other thing I want to mention on the report is just kind of the status update on Sheets. So that application, Rachel and I went to the Development Commission meeting. The original vote was a 3-3 tie with Rachel and I's testimony. The vote switched to 6-0 in favor of the applicant. So the Development Commission now approves. The only remaining objection was the Department of Building and Zoning, specifically the Planning Division. So I met with the Planning Division there. Rachel was originally supposed to go as well. She could not attend. The planner seemed to indicate that the city was probably wrong about their initial objections, but he didn't have the authority to change the department's position, since there are multiple stakeholders on that. And then second, he also iterated that they probably couldn't change their position too much, because if they changed their position every time they met with the community group, they would lose credibility with city council. It's his words. I'm paraphrasing, but he did say lose credibility. So the current status is that the Department of Building and Zoning Planning Division is still a strong objection to the application of Sheets. And that is currently the only thing holding it up. Rachel was able to speak to Councilmember Dorans at city council meeting, and she can kind of illuminate how that conversation went.
I spoke to the legislative aide for Councilmember Dorans before I spoke to him, and his aide really told me that council generally is in favor of the Sheets application. You know, they don't really have an objection to it, but they weren't going to put it on the agenda yet because of the zoning disapproval. But now that we have an approval from that department, it's possible that city council will still approve it, even though planning is saying no. He basically said council will sometimes go the opposite way of what planning wants, but they almost never will go against what the zoning board wants. So that is hopeful. And I don't know what the schedule is going to be, when it's going to go before council. It's not going to be this next week because that agenda is already out and it's not on that agenda. So we will see when it's scheduled. But we did tell Andrew Richland that we would be there to testify in favor.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Thank you for the report. Can you just give a brief statement about where what the Eureka, a reminder what the Eureka Avenue question is, and then
Yeah, so that's an ongoing application that we've heard several times. The only reason why we haven't voted on it is because the applicant has wanted to work with the community around their specific application, the community's objections. So what they're trying to do is they want to get a rezoning of they want a rezoning and they also want a variance. So the plots, there are two plots at issue here. And it's basically one application with two plots. They're currently zoned residential because it's an annex. So I've annexed from Franklin Township into City of Columbus. And one spot they want to have as pure manufacturing. Actually, both of them are going to be manufacturing, but the other one, they want to have manufacturing zoning with a single family residence on it. So that's a variance for that particular plot to have the variance to allow a single family home on the manufacturing district. The other part, they just want originally zoned manufacturing from residential. The objections are mainly about heavy industrial use on that plot because it's adjacent to many single family residence homes. There are also requests for screening and working hours, business hours, and not having noisy hours, doing this heavy stuff after sundown or sunset, I think are the stipulations of the local community is trying to get. There's a list of stipulations that the local community members have given the applicant. The applicant's reviewing them with his attorney, and they're going to put in an L text and give that to us, and then we're going to vote given on the L text.
if I remember, thank you, that's very thorough. If I remember, is this the site that is North Eureka Avenue on the west side, just past the final northbound alley between the Camp Chase Railroad and Camp Chase Bike Path and
Yes, it's right by the Rubies. Is it
Rosie's?
Rosie's.
It's a little bar there. That already, I pass there nearly daily cycling around, and there's already a lot of activity there. You know what they do? It's all fenced in, and there are people in and out.
Yeah, he has a construction company, and so he stores stuff related to his construction company there, and then there are rumors of other things happening there too.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason that he needs the rezoning is because I think there is a case. I don't know if it's an environmental case.
Yeah.
So I think he has at least one person living in a trailer on the property. He has like some boats on there. Before there was a lot of greenery in the sunroof. You could see the boats back there. So that's part of what he's trying to solve, I think, by rezoning. But we're aware of that and trying to get him to fix the situation, not just get it rezoned so he doesn't have to fix anything.
Right, yeah, and that is one of the concerns, is that because there are several violations, having it rezoned would fix. My understanding is almost all of them. I don't know, Zach, do you know any more about that particular?
I don't want to get too much into
Sure.
discussions about the case, but my understanding has always been that the She's rezoning was the proposed solution.
Yeah.
On the site to be developed.
So, yeah, so the rezoning would cure a lot of this current violations. I understand.
Yeah, he's not doing any manufacturing, but I think just the things that he's storing there would be a violation.
Okay, yeah, because if it switched to manufacturing type zoning, then what are they manufacturing? Like what is actually happening there? But it basically just allows them to grandfather in the existing.
Yeah, M1 allows for on-site storage of a lot of stuff.
And he wants to be able to build cabinets inside.
Yeah, he's planning on building a large building that he's going to manufacture some kind of cabinetry and things like that inside.
Yeah, so he does want to have a storage shed. There's other things he wants to put on the property. So they're originally, it seemed that he was only gonna have a storage shed and everything was gonna be stored inside, but in a later version of the application, we saw that he actually had outside storage as well, slated for the property, and that has been also a contentious issue.
That's it. I don't want to take up any more time. I appreciate it.
So when's our next committee meeting?
2 weeks from tonight at 7 p.m. here. Oh, sorry, no, 5:30. I forgot we had moved it up. 5:30 p.m. here at today, that's the 20th.
September 20th.
Yes.
Thank you, great report. Thank you for all your work related to the sheets and what's happening there. Keep us posted. Thanks for your commitment to go to the next council meeting and all the things you're doing. So, it's great. So we do have 8 different committees. We have another committee report up. It's our Community Relations Committee. So Jenny Kepler and Josh Maddox are co-chairs of the Community Relations Committee. Do you have a report?
I'll let you guys go.
Hi, I'm Jenny Kepler. We didn't meet this last month was about coordinating, getting the petitions out for the upcoming what was supposed to be our elections. We'll discuss that here in a bit. But I want to recap all of the efforts of our committee and the commissioners this summer to really push and get the word out about the commission. This summer, we made appearances at the Bean Dinner at Summer Jam West. We made appearances at the South Central National Night Out event. We had an open table event here at the library. We appeared at the Westgate Farmers Market. And was there another one at Highland West? Leah? But this summer has been busy with outreach, and I want to thank all of the commissioners who came out and spent their free time and sat and manned those tables at those events this summer. And I want to thank every one of our public, our community members who came out to actually talk to us, because that, made that effort worthwhile. We talked to a lot of great people, and I think we made some important connections. And we're going to continue to keep pushing to make people more aware of the commission, what we do, and different opportunities for people to get involved with what we do. Josh, do you have the next meeting date handy by any chance?
I do, but that'd be with the combined meetings. I think that's a question that's up in the air right now.
Oh, okay. So should we just go on? Yeah.
I'll talk loud. I'm Leah Bruno. I'm co-chair of the Government Legislation Committee meeting. In the last couple of months, we have combined with the Community Relations.
We've combined efforts with the Community Relations Committee because most of the projects for the next couple of months were going to be around the election. So our main big update, petitions were due on August 30th. So last week, we did have 5 petitions turned in. So we were gearing up for an election. In the past couple of days, we have had 1 candidate withdraw his candidacy. He will no longer be running. So that means we have 4 people who have submitted petitions and are planning to seek appointment. That is Joe Ardro, Dan Fagan, Rachel Wenning, and Andrew Stryker. I think all 4 of you are here tonight. Because we have 4 open seats, that's a regular thing, and we have 4 candidates. There will not be a need for an election. So our October 1st election has been canceled. We will post this to Facebook after this meeting as well. So I would like to kind of informally congratulate the 4 candidates who are here tonight who will be taking their formal seats on January 1st. We'll be sending out some more information about that shortly. But because that was kind of our main project, the rest of the year's meetings are a bit up in the air. We will probably be consulting later tonight with some of the committee members to decide our next meeting date. It was supposed to be on, I believe, September the 26th, 27th. It might still be held that night. But a couple of other quick things. The area commission will be partnering with the League of Women Voters of Metro Columbus for a couple events upcoming. So September the 29th, we're going to be doing a kind of get out the vote voter registration canvassing event that is open to everyone. We are really looking for folks to come out and get involved to help knock some doors and check that your neighbors are registered to vote. We've got a couple big elections coming up. As always, every election is important. So we are going to be meeting behind Burroughs Elementary at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, September 29th. And we're just going to do some pretty indiscriminate door knocking. We're going to hit as many doors as we can in the kind of south central hilltop areas around Sullivan Avenue to spread the word about the upcoming election, get folks registered to vote. The second event we have upcoming with the League of Women Voters is going to be on October the 17th at 6:30 p.m. here at the library. That's going to be a local candidate forum. The League of Women Voters hosts these annually. They like to partner with local organizations. So we are going to be their co-host this year. It is a strictly nonpartisan event. So we will have candidates of a variety of parties coming out, not to campaign, but just to let you get to know their platforms on a variety of issues. So we will need a couple volunteers for that event as well. And I'll be sending out some more information shortly. But if you have any questions, please let me know. That Facebook event went live today. And the voter registration outreach effort will have some volunteer sign up information going out in the next week or so. If you have any questions, let me know.
So the 29th, that's a Thursday. Just making sure it's Thursday, not Tuesday.
Correct. It's a Thursday. We're going to do 6 to 7:30, trying to get everyone home before dark. And that'll be, like I said, behind Burroughs Elementary. The league is going to be sending some volunteers, both to help knock doors, but also to give a quick kind of tutorial on, how to effectively ask folks if they're registered to vote, the general do's and don'ts, as well as some, frequently asked questions. And love to have everyone come out. Any other questions?
James?
Are you up to do a human services and education report? So.
Hello, everyone. My name is James White, Human Service and Education Chair. I was going to submit a letter for the commission to vote on and send out, but Columbus City Schools has removed their ballot initiative for a new school in our area. So I'm gonna have to regroup and figure out what they're going to be doing with Eakin Elementary, because that's what the letter was based around. Just trying to figure out what all they're going to be doing. Teacher union, they won their strike. So super proud of that and grateful. Just want to say thank you to all the teachers and everybody who supported them, because they do represent our kids and they represent our community, and everything that we need is what we need for our kids because they are our future. Nothing else. We will be having a meeting in the future. I think I missed the part about the combined meetings, so I will regroup on that and definitely post on Facebook when we will be meeting.
Any questions for Mr. White? So under our next committee, is our liquor permit review committee. Rachel Winning's our chair.
We have not had a meeting lately, but we will have one this month. I believe that will be September 26th. And we'll be here at the library. I would say 6 p.m. I think 6 is a good normal time. I think we may have been starting earlier previously, but 6 p.m. Yeah, okay. So we'll meet at 6, that's all.
Any questions? Moving on to our planning and economic development committee, Simon Dallas and Victoria Klein are our co-chairs. Do you have a report?
Yes, Victoria can't be here because she is currently under the weather. So this past meeting, we met at the Hilltop Senior Village on Wilson Road. Thank you.
So we met at the Hilltop Senior Village on Wilson Road. The employees there gave us the rundown on what they are planning on doing. They're going to be applying for various grants to develop and invest into their community. And then we also got a tour of the location. It was very cool. And then we are going to be meeting this coming Thursday at 5:30 p.m. here with Mr. Wade Jordan of W3 Properties to talk about his investments that he's been making into Hilltop.
The date and time of that committee meeting.
That will be this Thursday at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Patrick to just share a little bit about the presentation that'll be happening at our next Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting. Just kind of explain why we made that decision to kind of direct the presentation that way.
Yeah, so the city has wants area commissions to approve people who are purchasing land bank properties as developers. So they want us to have a green light on those. They wanted to send them through zoning, and the zoning committee did not find it to be the constructive use of zoning committee's time, as it's not really a zoning application. And we requested they go to planning and economic development instead. Simon Dallas was at the last zoning committee meeting where we discussed these things, and he also indicated that there they would be more appropriate for planning and economic development versus a zoning committee. One applicant did come through at the last zoning committee meeting, and I didn't mention that in my report. The zoning committee decided to not object to the applicant purchasing the land bank property, and the notice of that non-objection was given to the chair, who communicated that to the land bank. The purpose of doing it that way is just to avoid having the full commission having to spend a half hour on these, applications for anyone who wants to purchase a land bank property.
Don't know how many of these will be coming forward, but we have two now. So the second one will be heard this week coming up, right? Okay, great. All right, so on to our next committee report. It's our Public Safety Committee. Adhanat and Malik are our co-chairs, and I neglected to put Malik's name on our agenda. I just copied and pasted the wrong information, but Adhanat and Malik have been co-chairing our Public Safety Committee.
You hold it just in case.
Testing. All right, so our committee, we had a charting session, I think it was in this very room. And before we made any plans, we made sure we agreed what our work is grounded in. And so we reminded each other that our work is grounded in humanity, voice, mobilization, engagement, harnessed energy, collaboration, inclusion, especially around language, training and development. And so we use these things that we're grounded in to kind of develop the skeleton around which we built our action steps. And so our action steps were to finish or to have, by the time we got to this meeting, an individual survey and an organizational survey that we would share throughout the community. Our hope in doing so is we want to identify pockets of small communities within Hilltop. We think that there's many deeply invested people that might not make it to a formally structured meeting like the one we're in today, but we think that they have a lot of value to add, and they're keys to us turning Hilltop around. And so in that same spirit, and as I heard Leah talk, Commissioner Brutno, about going out and canvassing around Burroughs Elementary, this is exactly what we want to do as well. We want to go to 3 to 5 neighborhoods throughout the Hilltop and get the surveys into the hands of folks that can give us valuable information and feedback on how they identify the community to be connected or lack thereof, what resources they hope to be the top 3 resources that we as a collective community are asking for. But what we want to do is really begin to collect data. And so our first action step, like I said, is the individual surveys and organizational surveys so that we can get feedback from businesses in our community, organizations, in our community and individuals who are already doing the work. The next thing we said we will begin to do is to track and share at these meetings, crime collection data, but making sure that it's apples to apples so that we can see if and where the needle is moving and in what spaces it's moving and where it's not. We also had listed here that we would be soliciting business associations to support our work. And a big piece of our work, we think, is to spread and lift up the good news that happens in Hilltop. And so using our business partners to really celebrate many of the victories we see every day and month to month in these meetings as we see Hilltop turning a corner. And so how do we begin to more effectively leverage our businesses in sharing this news? And we believe that within the GHAC, we have a great deal of valuable history, knowledge, and shared stories, but we got to get them out so others can learn like what we already know. And so we asked ourselves, what is the role that the GHAC can play in getting small groups off the ground as well? So our next step, as we identify, the block captain on the west side of the Hilltop and this person over there, what we think that the Hilltop is in a great position to do is to host, and we didn't come up with a frequency yet, but if twice a year, 4 times a year, we had a training that helped the guy who plays soccer with kids on some street, help him to form a nonprofit and formalize that business, that's probably a more effective use of our time and our resources and our social capital. And so how do we leverage and lift up the many people in our community that are doing heroes work every day? And so the other thing we said is, as we get these surveys back, we might have more data that shows us where these organizations are, which ones are stalled and what they need, and then filling the gap as we see that the thing is that folks aren't vendors for the city of Columbus. Then we would hold a workshop in helping people to formalize their vendor certification with the city of Columbus. And then the other piece we said is hugely important is to help neighbors to connect with neighbors. We think that leads to more organizations and groups, and that also leads to a broader cross-section of people in our community that can say that the Greater Hilltop Area Commission has had an impact on their day-to-day life and activities. We've often heard political people say that, the crime that happens in our neighborhoods is not a police-only problem. We agree with that. We think that this is probably the most effective way to leverage that everyday neighbor that's really working hard to keep the front of their house clean, to keep their block clean, and get them more help and more support and make it a collective effort that we all share in the Hilltop. So if anybody has any questions, I definitely want to make sure I make time to listen. All right, thank you.
It was just exciting that you couldn't make the last committee meeting, but it's really exciting to see all that. How you visually took what your thoughts are.
Yes.
All that together.
Yeah.
I hope you'll be able to share all that with us.
Yeah, we'll happily share that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what Dan's referencing is we kind of did a graphic visualization process as we threw out our ideas so that we could synthesize it all and make sense of it. And we boiled it down to that right there. Yeah.
Just the glance I saw.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just had a comment because I know that the Legal Aid Society of Columbus has at least one attorney who is devoted to doing free assistance, helping organizations get 501c3 status or that kind of thing, giving them advice on what they might be able to do. So if we do have a group like that, we might be able to hook them up with legal aid.
I'd love that. I think that's a great resource.
I'm actually from Legal Aid. I'm happy to.
Oh.
Yes, please. Thank you for being here.
Who is the person who's assigned to that?
Paul Bryson is our team lead on that, but we have a couple of other.
Awesome. Thank you. Joe?
Did you say that next meeting date?
Yep, that next meeting date's going to be on the 24th of September, Saturday at 10 o'clock right here. Thank you, Joe.
The Highland Pacific Association's been having regular public safety meetings. Have there been any conversations about doing some combined efforts or?
We've not,
once every other month?
I love the idea. It sounds like Hannah had the conversation. And in my house, we divided our house. My wife goes to those meetings. She should do. And I go to ours and we kind of synthesize it on. Yeah, she wasn't there last.
They canceled the last meeting.
Yeah.
But yes, that's something that Jeffrey I had asked for.
Mhm.
All right.
Just a comment I'd like to add, Avery's still out there, right? So Avery and I had a conversation this week, and one of the follow-up items was, Hannah, you had talked about, we were talking about the bus tour and about whether or not there might be any opportunity to do something that looked like the bus tour in the future. So Avery and I had a conversation. She is more than willing. She said,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, come to a future committee meeting and just talk about what maybe legislative event might look like. We talked about that. We did some of that preliminary conversation we had. So until Avery followed up on that. So invited her to come to a future. Okay. Just while I'm also interrupting the process here, you also gave us some updates because it's kind of piggybacks into the Recreation Parks Committee report, which is next. Mr. Paxton is not able to be here tonight, so I don't know if anybody else in the committee could, you can give it up to James. Okay, why don't we start there? But one of the things I was going to say was that Avery did a great job of following up with us the last full commission meeting about has some of the Glenwood Park, has it been fully funded in terms of all of that project, et cetera, and some other kind of budgetary items. So just thank you, kudos, great job of following up on a lot of things that were almost 2 months old now, but wanted to share. So.
Well, so Councilmember Liz Brown's office and in terms of the legislative research office is currently working on getting status updates on every budgetary, every line item for the area commission that submitted lists on, from the departments, they're putting, kind of requesting that information from them. So we keep all of that information and they work through a lot of the capital budget. There's a word that a lot of the capital budget development goes on throughout the year in the departments. And so what they want to do is get the status updates on each of those lines. We've got use of Glenwood, I believe is fully, all the way to the end, like we thought last time, but they should be sending out that information kind of an annotated version of your list on a rolling basis throughout this month. So we can look forward to seeing that and kind of giving a little bit of a summary of what it looks like, so we can continue to work with the departments throughout the year as they're developing their capital improvement budget with those requests to see if we can, work it into their plan as we go, not, at the end, summer process a little bit. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of different offices kind of pushing on getting those updates for all the area commissions on what their requests were. So
great, thank you. James. Yeah.
The Parks and Rec Committee, I did go out to Georgian Heights last month. There wasn't a whole lot of trash out there to pick up other than once you get back into the woods and throughout the trails. It's a very beautiful park, but it is very tricky to access. We will be meeting next Saturday at Holton to do another on-site litter cleanup, as well as talking about possible opportunities that that park may need, maybe some improvements or upgrades. We're really committed again to trying to visit every single park that we listed in our audit report as poor or fair. We're going to try to get a packet put together and submit over to the city for a final review of those parks and some very needed upgraded maintenance items. Again, that's going to be next Saturday at Holton. That's going to be the 17th. And we're going to be meeting at 10 a.m. We are going to start out with a brief meeting update, and then we're going to be picking up trash throughout the park. So if anybody's interested, please attend. I do have one action item that I want to bring to the park's attention, and that's just going to be some landscaping maintenance along West Broad in front of the casino, trying to see if the city can't do something kind of in line with what's going on the other side of 270, just to try to get our curb appeal back up. We got a lot to offer in our community, and it's just kind of visually disappointing when you pull in and it's nothing but overgrown grass and weeds. So probably going to be putting a letter towards in front of the committee to get that approved and sent over to. So okay.
Any questions for James? purposeful about asking about, folks might be joining our meeting on Facebook or YouTube and send questions. Great. That rounds up our committee reports then. On the agenda, there's a spot for presentations and we don't formally have any this evening. So we're going to move on to unfinished business, which I listed on the agenda as the second reading of some proposed bylaw changes that we have regarding appointments to the commission. So you're able to find those later.
I was, so to review, anytime we update a bylaw, there have to be 2 formal readings. We had our first reading back in, I believe, July. So I haven't had any questions come up. So I'm assuming that this is all good. This is going to serve as our second and formal reading, followed by a vote. Currently, our bylaws read as follows. These nominations, this is in reference to the one nominated seat that we make every year. These nominations shall be made at or before the regular commission meeting in December for the following year. The committee has suggested the following change. These nominations shall be made at the first regular commission meeting of the year. The second minor change is actually a deletion. So farther down in the bylaws, it just kind of reiterates that previous statement. Annual appointed seats for the following year may be filled at the current commission by the commission through the appointment process at the regular July meeting. And that's a holdover from like 2 versions ago. And the committee recommends that that sentence be deleted because it's redundant and incorrect. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to address those, but I would like to request a formal vote.
Any questions?
So I guess I would move to accept the bylaws change as read.
Couple of second that motion. So I'd like to take a voice vote. I mean, a roll vote, right? To go around and actually take that roll vote. Please, Rachel.
Mr. Barnacle,
Yes.
Bates Fry. Brudno,
Yes.
Mr. Dallas,
Yes.
Fagan,
Yes.
Kepler,
Yes.
Ms. Kipling.
Yes.
Klein is absent. Josh Maddox,
Yes.
Sean Maddox,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Paxton is absent. I'm a yes. Mr. White,
Yes.
Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Avery, do you have a question?
Well, I know you guys aren't gonna believe this, in the sense that you'll totally believe this, but Melissa Green has a question. And if it's that, if you make it so that it's at the first meeting of the year, wouldn't that put them out of compliance with their bylaws? And she asked it in the comments, I suppose.
Would that put us out of compliance? So the reasoning behind the change, I can definitely give that context. So as it stands now, appointments are filled in December so that they can take a seat in January. However, what that means is there's potentially 5 commissioners who are voting on appointment for a person that they will never actually serve with. So this change would allow for all of our elected commissioners to take their seats in January and then vote on the 5th, the appointed seat for them to take their seat in, as soon as possible in February.
Yeah, I suppose the question would just be, it puts it out of compliance with the term.
Yes, so the term dates are January 1st to December 31st.
So something we ran into last year, and is kind of a built-in fallback, is because we didn't get our bylaws submitted in time to do the appointment in December. We had to do it in January, and we were still allowed to do that because the regular appointment process, as written in our bylaws, is that if there's a vacancy for any reason, whether that's a missed appointment or a missed meeting or someone drops out, we have a process for how the appointment can be made. And so we were told that that was okay. If this is an issue, a separate issue, we can address it, but I did read these 3 months ago and there were no.
The only issue I think that is being raised is it would give somebody a 35 or potentially 34-month term instead of a 36-month term, which I don't think is a big deal.
City code, obviously 3109 requires 3-year terms, but if there are any issues, we can discuss it another time. I'm sorry that I don't have the background on this. I don't know. I'm not a determined.
Want to send it over to me, I can send it to our city attorney representative for the commission. Bylaws.
I will do that. Are we still allowed to accept this vote as an acceptance of the change? And then we can see if it works. And if it does work, we'll submit it. If it doesn't work, we'll retool it.
Yeah, I think we should present to the person that will review our bylaws and our now voted upon amendments to those bylaws to know that we're in full support. And if there's a way to potentially work that out, yeah. Whether or not what the advice would be.
Ask forgiveness, not permission.
I am going to make the change then, and then we'll make sure we're not breaking any rules.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you for the question, Melissa.
I looked down, I said, well, that surprised me a little bit.
Rachel?
The only thing that I can think of that's an issue is that I think when there's a vacancy, we're supposed to announce it at the meeting, and then at the next meeting, we give nominations. So technically, if there wasn't a vacancy until January, we might not be voting until February.
I don't think I really agree with that interpretation of what an announced vacancy. So if somebody was going to resign their seat at the end of the month, you could announce the seat vacant today, as long as it's, right.
Planned vacancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did a very similar thing when we had a resignation this year.
Right.
We made appointments the next month.
So if you announce it ahead of time, I think you're fine. So
Yeah, as long
you
as
can
we're
announce.
announcing.
Yeah, if you announce at least 30 days.
So as it stands now, and this was going to be another announcement later, we will be seeking nominations for this regular appointment. Those would be traditionally, made in December so that they can speak in December, and then we would vote at the January meeting once our new commissioners have joined. If you have folks you're interested in nominating, let any of the commissioners know.
We'll have the 4 seats that are going to be filled from the petitions that were submitted, and then we have that 5th appointed position. So it's somebody that lives in the Greater Hilltop, works in the Greater Hilltop, or owns property in the Greater Hilltop would be eligible to be nominated for that appointment.
Yes.
Okay.
So, no, it's not, she is filling, Kayla is in an appointed seat, but this is not to fill her appointment. This would be to fill James's appointment. So James's term is ending at the end of the year. He was an appointed seat, so we would be voting to fill his appointment. Yeah. Unlike the elected positions, there's the option for the appointment to not live in the neighborhood, but you do have to have like a significant connection to living or owning property or working in the Greater Hilltop boundaries. All the other elected positions must reside in the Greater Hilltop.
So Mark Wahlberg would qualify.
If he really wanted to.
No, because they just license his name. They don't-
I thought he owns the property.
No, it's another company out of Detroit.
Okay. Never mind.
His voice is on commercial.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Great.
Scrolling through the comments. Great, so that concludes our unfinished business, and I didn't have any new business for the agenda this evening, so we can move on to announcements. Does any commissioners have any announcements they'd like to make?
I'll keep going. So Zach already mentioned this, but the 2nd annual Hilltop versus Franklinton charity softball game is this Saturday. I know there've been a couple other events announced tonight that are also taking place this Saturday, but if you are able, please do come to the St. Mary Magdalene School softball field. It's right there, kind of behind my left shoulder. The game's going to kick off right at 10 a.m. We are playing this year for the Greater Hilltop Shalom Zone, as well as for redemption from last year's loss. We
lost on our own.
I'm excited to play alongside Commissioner Barnacle and a lot of great community members. So please do come by to cheer us on. Should be fun, and we need lots of people in the stands. I think that's it.
Making your registration fee.
If you are signed up to play, which I know a few of you in the room are, if you have not submitted your registration fee yet, please do that. You can do so on your own, on Venmo, or you can bring cash to the game and I will submit it on your behalf. Checks are also fine. T-shirt orders are in. So if you're signed up to play, we expect you to play. Please bring all of your gear that you own. If you own any, even if you're not playing, but you're coming to watch, bring all of your gear.
So gloves.
We need gloves, we need bats, we need softballs. I think that's it.
Payment, it's through the Board of Trade is our fiscal agent for the fundraising portion. So it's Venmo, it's at F-DOT. Everything else that gets made out.
Franklinton is playing for Franklinton Farms this year. Also a worthy cause, but I don't want to let them win.
Are you guys bringing that to those 4 to 20-year-old men that are like
Right?
6 feet tall?
Yeah.
Yes.
Damn it.
I got a priest this year though, so we could guilt him. I told him to wear his collar. No, he's a young priest.
Any other announcements from commissioners?
There are a couple of mural dedications coming up over the next month. So this Thursday, September 8th, from 6 to 7 p.m. over at 233A West Broad Street. So on the corner of Broad and Oakley, a mural will be dedicated. And then on the Wednesday, September 21st, 6 to 7 p.m. At 3059 West Broad at the new Third Way Cafe location. They'll be dedicated one as well.
Both are at the same time, you said 6?
Both are 6 to 7 p.m. Yes, the first is this Thursday, September 8th from 6 to 7. And the second is Wednesday, September 21st, 6 to 7.
Any other announcements? Commissioners? Anybody like to make an announcement? Anybody? You don't have to take the mic. You don't have to.
This is Kevin Orr with Hilltop Shalom Zone. Just please save the date for Saturday, November 5th. We're having an event called Celebrate Hilltop. It's going to be at Westgate Park in the enclosed shelter house in the surrounding area. November 5th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We'll have food trucks and we're going to have live music. We're going to have resources, hopefully a fire truck. And so games and activities for the kids. So it's just a fun event for November 5th, 10 to 3.
So that concludes our announcements for this evening. Just want to ask for people who are viewing, if you're still watching on Facebook or YouTube, was the sound better this evening? Any comments? Yes, no, about the same? I'd love to hear any comments that you have about the sound, trying to improve that for sure.
Put it up on my phone and it was great.
Oh, good. So somebody here said the sound was better, so. All right, so I'm officially going to move on to adjourning the meeting. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this meeting. All in favor? Thank you for being here tonight.
Look at it.